Thank you everyone for coming out. Today we're going to offer some great information for parents, students, for guardians about internet safety, texting safety, and also social media safety. We know that the climate right now is so pervasive around social media that there can be perils that can be associated with it. As a means of supporting parents who are struggling to ensure that their students have what they need and that they are able to stay safe in these digital communications, we have provided for you, in collaboration with the District Attorney's Office, some information, some resources that we hope will prove valuable for you and your family. So we have with us this evening our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Dan McGarry. Dr. McGarry has been, for the past couple of years, working to ensure that students have lessons around social media on the elementary level, the middle school level, and the high school level, and he's going to share his vision with us.
Thank you, Ms. Buford, and thank you, Jack and Ken, for coming out tonight. We've always had a great relationship with the District Attorney's Office. I know how busy you guys are, so much going on. Unfortunately, the last couple of days I know locally haven't been easy, but thank you for keeping us safe and thank you for doing what you do. Here in the school district, we have a series of parent workshops. We're trying to, again, continue to provide opportunities for our parents and our children to kind of work together with the school district to overcome significant barriers, life barriers that we don't want our parents to feel like they have to handle on their own. Many of our administrators in this district are parents. I have 3 children myself, they're teenagers. I know just how difficult it is in 2024 to raise kids in this environment. I know a lot of times we talk about what it was like to be a kid. I know all the time I think about with my own sons, I didn't have to worry about the ramifications of some of my decisions as a teenager, like our teenagers to do. And so what we try to do is when we talk to our kids are what are some of the biggest pressures or stresses that kids are facing. And right now, time and time again, cell phones, social media, the pressures that is putting on kids to fit in, to make risky decisions, risky behaviors. It's become a serious barrier. Coming out of COVID-19, we've seen even a higher rate and escalation of risky behaviors and how social media influences kids. And so some of the content you're going to hear tonight, and we've done this presentation a couple times here in the school district, not only will we do this here tonight, we try to break this down and have a conversation with middle school children, and even as far down as to elementary school children, because I know the parents that might be listening tonight and will hear this, we are seeing behaviors, believe it or not, cell phones, how cell phones are used all the way down to 2nd and 3rd grade. How kids are making decisions on cell phones that they should not be making, and parents may not be aware of it. And all the tricks that are going on that maybe kids are pulling the wool over our eyes that we don't even know what's going on. And the first time I attended a workshop like this, we brought this to the school district. I remember being with my kids and listening to this myself. And then I go to their phone, and we have a right as parents to make sure that our kids are safe. And so tonight, I hope that what you take away from this is just another tool, not another stressor, but another tool on how to make sure you're keeping you safe and your kids safe. And so I want to make sure that one of the parent workshops we've worked on is we've had a positive psychologist come in and talk about how to be a parent, how to talk to your child, how to work with your child. And tonight in that series is another component, which is how social media has a direct impact and adds more trauma and stress to the lives of our kids, and what we should look for as parents, as educators, and as local law enforcement, and just how serious teenage decisions are now. The decisions that maybe 20 years ago we got away with, or people got away with, didn't think it was that being that big a deal on social media, and it stays there, and how that's become even more of a problem. So I want to turn it over to our District Attorney, Jack Stolzheimer, who's been, again, a phenomenal partner here in the school district, and our relationship is great. Jack, I want to say thank you for coming out tonight, and Ken as well, thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for everyone who is here tonight from the Upper Darby School District. You guys do such an incredible job of trying to keep parents and give them the tools to make sure that their kids succeed. My father went to this school district a long time ago. I couldn't even imagine the kind of things that parents have to deal with today. I have 2 18-year-old kids of my own, so I very much appreciate what educators have been through, particularly in these last couple of years, and how difficult it is to do the job you're doing. And I don't want any more teachers to leave the profession. Thank you so much. We need more teachers, more police officers, more public servants across the board. You guys are fantastic, and Ken and I and everybody in our office really appreciates the work you do. Just for the parents out there tonight, this is Internet Safety Day nationally, which is why we're so happy to be here in one of the largest school districts in Pennsylvania to give a message about how to keep your kids safe on the internet. So just a little bit of background. Delaware County District Attorney, I'm the elected Chief Law Enforcement Officer of our county. About 24 years ago, my predecessor as District Attorney applied for and was granted money from the federal government to become the host of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. This was just at the beginning, really, of the internet age. If you all remember, we all thought the internet was going to solve all the problems of the world and make us all love each other. It kind of hasn't exactly worked out that way. But we began at that point when I was a young prosecutor and doing cases where adults were preying on children, particularly by sharing pictures and depictions of them that were abusive. And we were happy to begin to have that process going forward where we could protect children who were being abused through the internet in a sexual manner by child predators. We've really gone through a different change here in the last 24 years. As the internet technology has expanded, the way child predators can reach your children and do harm to them has also expanded. It really is a superhighway both for good and for bad. We see cyber crimes, we see crimes against seniors, and we see crimes against children that are enabled by the availability of the internet, social media, and that phone that is constantly in everyone's hands. So as we have seen technology evolve, so have we at the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Sergeant Bellis is the commander of the task force. So there are over 100 law enforcement agencies throughout Pennsylvania that take their direction from Sergeant Bellis. He gets evidence of potential crimes, he sends those out to investigators, and he manages the follow-up and the prosecution of those cases. And just to give you a sense of what we're facing, ladies and gentlemen, Ken tells me that before the pandemic started, we had about 5,000 or 6,000 tips that we had to investigate every year through the task force. Last year it was 21,000. So the problem is expanding because we have so many young people now available through their phones at a younger and younger age with the internet. And Ken is going to tell you that there are new techniques, new scams, new frauds, new sexploitation methods that are being used against children. We're not here to scare you tonight, we're here to tell you the truth. Because law enforcement is your partner in the community, but we cannot just arrest our way out of this problem. What we need you to do, nor would we want to, ladies and gentlemen, what we want to do is give you the tools to help protect your children so they don't become victims. And that's really the goal here tonight, is to give you some information, some of which might shock and scare you, but that's okay. Because what we want you to do is to be armed in such a way that you can make sure that your children don't fall prey to the predators who are out there every day on the internet. So with no further ado, my deep pleasure to introduce a man I have deep, deep respect for. Sergeant Bellis has been doing this work for a long time. I don't know how every day he's able to deal with the kind of unbelievably horrible things he sees coming through as the commander of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. I will tell you that in my tenure as district attorney, because these cases touch every community in our county and in our Commonwealth, I prosecuted one of these cases personally of somebody who was living in my neighborhood in Havertown who just had horrible, horrible images stored on his computer. And Ken deals with this every day. He deals with some investigators across Pennsylvania who are the most dedicated law enforcement people I've ever met. So it's my pleasure to turn you over to Sergeant Bellis, who's going to helpfully give you some tools today to protect your children so they don't get victimized. Ken?
The district attorney went over some of the backgrounds from the task force, so I'll go through it rather quickly. But just to let you know how it comes about that we get our tips, we coordinate with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And what we do is, like the district attorney said, we investigate child pornography, online enticement of children, cyberbullying, extortion, and also child trafficking. And so the reason we get these reports mostly is because It is federal law that if any internet service provider that you use, so if you use Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or anything social media, they're required by law that if they detect inappropriate content coming across their server, they're required to make a report to the National Center. And so as the district attorney said, before the pandemic, we were getting about 5,000, 6,000 reports a year for all of Pennsylvania. Last year, as you can see, as it rose, that when the pandemic became March of 2020, you can see how they just skyrocketed. So we're already on pace to go far above 21,000 reports. What I want to talk to you today is just some of the current trends that we're getting, and hopefully to help you protect your children, what to look out for with what we're seeing. And so some of the current trends that we're seeing is a lot of self-production through YouTube, TikTok, and also child enticement and child extortion, both financial and sexual. So just to touch base about what we're seeing on YouTube and TikTok is we're seeing a large number of children exposing themselves through TikTok videos, posting them online. A lot of times they think it's funny, or they're communicating with friends and they're sharing videos back and forth. YouTube, which is owned by Google, when they detect this content, they make a report to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And what Google can provide us is a username of the account. They can provide us with the email address that was used to set up the account, phone number, and also IP addresses, which if you're on the internet, you're using an IP address to connect to the internet. So with that information, we're hopefully able to find out where the child's located, make sure the child's safe. Most of the time, which is self-production on YouTube, the child is safe, it's just that they're inappropriately using the internet. I ask parents all the time, how many people have had a Gmail account that gets closed down? Because Google will shut the account down once they detect the inappropriate content, and they will only tell the parent or the person that owns the account that you violated the terms of service. So a lot of times the parent doesn't understand why until we come to their door or until we call them and tell them why. Same thing with TikTok. What I want to talk about with the child extortion, with what we're seeing, is there's two different kinds of extortion. You either have a sexual extortion or you're having a big increase in financial extortion. Most of the victims with sexual extortion are female victims. And this is where you'll get predators online communicating with the female child. It'll be like a grooming process. They might send gifts. They might try and tell the child to keep their communication quiet, keep it private, no one has to know. And it's like a long process before the person may eventually try and either meet with the child or get the child to expose themselves and send them videos or images. And this is mainly for sexual gratification, or we have had a recent case here in Delaware County where the victim was being sexually extorted and the offender was taking the images to resell them to other people. But for a lot of times with the sexual extortion, the person is doing this for their sexual gratification. They may threaten the child eventually to keep sending more videos, but it's for their sexual gratification. I'll talk about a case here in Delaware County and I'll show you a video of how this was happening and how it relates to a case a little later. A big increase right now with boys being victims is financial extortion. And you may have seen this on the internet. There's some videos about this. But financial extortion is where 90% of the victims are boys. A lot of them are early teens or teenagers in high school. And the conversations are different. It's someone is pretending to be a girl. They pretend to like the child. They send pictures to the child, say, hey, I think I'm attracted to you. I think you're cute. I'd like to get to know you. They send pictures, and they get the boy to send a picture back. And this is usually more of a quicker process. It can be within minutes, 15, 20 minutes, the person could try and get the boy to send pictures. And as soon as they do, they immediately start extorting them for a financial gain. So there's two groups that have been identified that the FBI and Homeland Security are mostly looking at, but they're outside the country. We don't have an extradition treaty with the country, so the prosecution, the arrests, and the investigations aren't as quick as we would like. What we try to do is educate the parents, educate the child, and try and give them tips on what to do if this is happening to them. We probably get about 5 reports a week in this area where a boy is being financially extorted or blackmailed. We handled a cyber tip today from the National Center where a victim in Delaware County was allegedly being blackmailed. And what we try to do is tell the person, the parents, as a parent, let your child know it's not the end of the world. We've had, unfortunately, across the country, there's been an increase in suicide amongst boys because of this, and I'm going to show you a video from a parent who, unfortunately, his child committed suicide based on the financial extortion. And she's trying to go around the country and educate parents on, what to look for, what to do, and handle it the best you can. Well, what we tell parents and we tell children to do that are being financially extorted is do not comply with the demands. Do not send money to these people. Do not engage with these people. The best thing to do is to clearly screenshot the evidence, save the evidence that you have, but then block them. Send it, don't keep communicating with them, because once you send them money or if you send them a gift card, they're not going to stop. It's not going to go away. They might tell you, send me $100, send me $500, or I'm going to send your images out to all your friends. But if you do, they're not going to stop. They're just going to keep doing it until they can't get any more money out of you. These groups, which are primarily in Africa, these 2 main groups that are doing it, they're doing it to so many people, so many boys, that there's no guarantee they won't send the images out, but a lot of times they're moving on to the next victim because they're doing this to so many people at the same time. So there's no guarantee they won't send the pictures out, but they're not going to go away if you comply with their demands and send money. We've had cases where there's groups that are pretending to be law enforcement, pretending to be part of ICAC, and trying to make you say that they're representing a parent and that the child is disturbed about your communications and we need you to send money because the parent needs money to help their child get therapy. It's just not true. It's all a scam. No law enforcement officer, no Internet Crime Against Children officer is going to ask your child to send them money. We're going to ask you to send money on behalf of your child. It's not the case. When I get calls from people, in my office, calls from people telling me that this is happening, I ask them, well, who? Because no one wants to admit that they're talking inappropriately online. So who are you talking to online? Be careful what you're doing online. Be careful what you're posting online. There's one case I want to tell you about. This child, his name's Ryan Last. He unfortunately was a victim of financial extortion. He had recently been visiting a number of schools, preparing to go to college. He unfortunately started communicating with someone that he thought was a female, was tricked into sending a picture of himself, and then immediately extorted. They found a suicide note in his room after he was found, where he's telling his parents he was blackmailed, and he just couldn't take it. You'll hear briefly a short video from his mom telling you about her experience. I just want to play that for you right now.
My name is Pauline Stewart, and I'm a mother of 2 teenage boys. I'm here to tell you about my son, Ryan. Ryan was a victim of sextortion. Sextortion happens when a person blackmails or threatens to distribute your private or explicit photos or videos. If you do not send more explicit photos or videos, money, or engage in activities that may be sexual or illegal in nature. This individual may also threaten to harm your friends or family unless you comply with their demands. Unfortunately, Ryan ended up taking his life due to the extreme pressure that was put on him by the person demanding money and threatening to distribute explicit photos of him. My son Ryan was a senior at Ann Sobrato High School. He was a straight-A student who was planning on attending Washington State University and majoring in agricultural biotechnology. He loved the Future Farmers of America program and was their chapter secretary, and raised his sheep for their supervised agriculture experience project. He was also a Boy Scout who was working on his Eagle Scout project. He combined his love for FFA and Boy Scouts with the plan to build a shed for the school farm for his Eagle Scout project. In his junior year of his high school, he fell in love with a theater program. He has been involved in building the sets for the school productions. He was looking forward to starting college. He had just finished a tour of 6 Southern California colleges, which helped him decide on Washington State University. Ryan was a very trusting person. The individual who sextorted Ryan pretended to be a young girl interested in my son. They, in other words, catfished my son and gained his trust through flirting and showing interest. Ryan truly believed that he was talking to a young girl. This is one of the huge problems with social media. People can pretend to be anyone. The fact that he was told that they would send out or post the pictures on social media had a devastating impact on Ryan. He chose to end his life rather than have the pictures distributed on social media. He believed his reputation would be destroyed, and he was terrified of what his friends and family would think. I really want parents to understand that there are dangers with the online world our kids are involved in. My husband and I had parental controls on our kids' accounts. We knew their passwords, and they could not download any apps without our approval. We thought with all of these precautions that nothing like this could happen to our family. We honestly never thought that this was possible when we created the parental controls. We were so very wrong. We want to make sure that this does not happen to another family. We want to make sure that parents are aware of the risks out there. We would also like them to talk to their kids so that kids feel that they can come to their parents if they make a mistake. Social media is the way that kids are getting targeted in these types of scams. I think that parents should go home and talk to their kids about a few things, such as what apps they use and who they communicate with. I know that a lot of kids play online games against other people. One thing that I would like to stress is that if someone reaches out to them and tries to befriend them, they need to be very careful. I always loved that Ryan trusted and believed in people. Unfortunately, this was a huge part of what made Ryan the perfect target. I truly don't know how to create the correct balance between trusting and being skeptical. I know that parents need to talk to their children about what to do if someone they don't know reaches out to them. Ryan was my firstborn and an amazing and loving child. His loss has devastated our family. My younger son lost his brother, best friend, his innocence, and trusting nature in one night. Ryan's younger brother has never been interested in getting on social media before this and has had to grow up way too fast. Ryan truly believed that his error in judgment of trusting someone was too much to handle. Please stress with your child that you love them and that if something like this happens, that your family can work it out. We want to get Ryan's story out there so that no other family has to go through what we have. We want to educate both parents and kids about the risks out there, and especially about sending compromising pictures to people on the internet.
Some of the things that Ms. Stewart was saying is about talking to your children. And there's some internet safety. At the end, I'm going to give you some links where you can go on to some specific apps for internet safety, like TikTok and Discord and Snapchat. But one thing I'd like to promote is that when you use these apps, if you have younger children that say want to use Roblox, create the account with your child. Learn how to use the app with the child so you can watch what they're doing, and you can help learn how the different parent controls the apps might have and how you can navigate through the app. I know with Snapchat you can set it up so you can not necessarily see what your child is saying on Snapchat, but you can see who's communicating with your child. So if you don't, they should only be communicating with people they know. But if you see usernames that seem a little odd or you don't understand who they are, you can then question your child and say, who's this person, who's that person? So there's different ways to try and monitor what your children are doing online, what their apps are doing. And there will be some links at the end of this. There's some literature out in the hallway through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children where you can go on. ConnectSafely.org is one of them. They have a tremendous amount of internet safety stuff for parents. It's really good. But to follow up with what the video said, don't respond if your child, tell your child not to respond if they start getting extorted or financially extorted. Take screenshots of the evidence. You can block the person. Encourage your child to tell the parents about what's going on. Tell your teacher what's going on. Don't send images, obviously. Don't send any money because it's not going to solve it. And this is just an example of some of the chats. This is really pretty realistic of what we see. It's really quick. The person pretends to be a girl, engages with the boy, gets the boy to send a picture, and then immediately starts extorting. One of the other things that we get is this next video is from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I show this video because you'll see at the end of the video the offender, the offender is taking videos that he extorts the girl to send them, and he puts them into the files on his computer. And I like to show this video because we had an actual case where an offender was doing this exact thing several years ago. We identified about 147 victims, and many of them were here in Upper Darby School District. In fact, most of the victims were from Upper Darby School District. And I'll show you a piece of evidence that we found. But listen to this video real quick.
Hi, Zach. Here's another video from our special guy. I can't believe we haven't talked all day. I wish you went to my school or a little closer so we could finally meet.
Hey, kiddo. Dinner in an hour. Don't spend too long on the phone.
Okay, I know you've been waiting for this for a while, so I wanted to give you something special. Is this okay? Why are you doing this?
So if you saw at the end of the video how the person was dragging the video into a folder, this is a screenshot from evidence that we have from a case where most of the victims were here in Delaware County in the Upper Darby area. And what the offender was doing was collecting all the images that they were saving from the different victims. And when we seized his computer, when we did a search warrant, we seized his computer, this is how we found the folders. This is just a sample of it. The person was pretending to be this girl who was a real person. We interviewed her, we spoke to her. The offender had met her online and started communicating with her, talking, and then just started using her pictures to pretend to be her and started tricking his victims from this area into sending pictures and videos. And the offender did threaten many of the children that if they don't keep sending pictures, they're going to display them. Out of the 100 and some victims that we interviewed, unfortunately, the offender did send some pictures out to his family's friends. And what they do is they're very good at communicating to get inside the social media of their victim, whether or not it's Instagram or Snapchat. They're very good at getting their friend list. And even with the financial extortion, you'll see where the offender may create an account online based on some of the likes that your child has. So they're very good at following what your child's doing online. With financial extortion, they may even find pictures that your child's posting, innocent pictures. We've had them where they'll make a collage of the victim's images from the internet. They might post pictures of their school or post pictures with their friends, and they're very good at getting what they need to try and extort the child with. Like when we do these presentations for middle school and high school, not to scare them, but we tell them to be careful of what pictures you're taking, even if you're standing in front of a school bus or a street sign. We've had cases here in Delaware County where the offender, when we've done forensics on their computers or their phone, we've seen that they've been Googling the child's name or Googling the child's school to try and see where they're located, map questing and trying to find out how to get to the child's school or how to get to the child's house. So you really have to be aware of what you're doing online, what you're posting online. Not to say not to use the internet, not to say social media can't be used for good things, but you just got to be careful. Your kids need to be careful of what they're posting online. One more case I want to talk about briefly is if your children are videotaping or posting their live gameplay. A lot of kids like to play Fortnite and Minecraft, a lot of games, and they like to post it on what's called Twitch, where they can communicate with their friends, post their gameplay, and talk at the same time. It's like streaming their live gameplay. We had another case here, again in Delaware County, where we identified more than 170 children that had been recorded by the offender. They were filming their live gameplay. And what this offender was doing was he was going on public sites on Twitch, seeing kids that were not, did not have a lot of followers, weren't a lot of people in there, and he would start communicating with them. The children could not see him because he wasn't letting his camera work. He was all doing it through text message, typing. As you'll see here in this slide, the red part is the username of the offender, and he was just sending messages to the child. And what he was doing was trying to get the child to expose himself. He was offering money, if your child plays these video games like Fortnite and whatnot, they have V-Bucks, or they have prizes that they can offer. And they were trying to get the child to want the prizes and to do the sexual act for him in order to get the prize. And you would see, this is like the child's screen, this is what the offender was saying. This child happened to be having multiple games at the same time. And he was using different usernames to talk to these children. When we did the search warrant at this offender's house, and we saw his computer, he had multiple tabs up. He was talking to maybe 10, 20 kids at a time, just going back and forth, trying to see who he could get to videotape themselves. And I showing this here to parents because there's this one particular victim. I can't show you the video, but this victim, obviously, he was in front of a camera. He was exposing himself at the request of the offender. And I like to show this slide because this particular victim's mother was very diligent, and thankfully she was following her child's play, what he was doing on Twitch online. So I encourage parents, you should follow what your children are doing online. And I can't play the video, but in the video that we seized, you can hear the mother screaming in the video, "What are you doing?" And then you hear the child saying, "I don't know." And then the mom comes running right in, and she's looking right in the camera at the offender, and the offender sees what's going on. And in a weird twist of fate, the offender tries to report the child as violating the terms of service of the game. He actually had the audacity to try and report the child for doing something wrong when it was him doing something wrong. When we did the search warrant at this offender's house, we found all kinds of gift cards. And when we interviewed him, he admitted that if if he thought he was going to get the child to comply with his request, if he thought he was close to being successful, he would sometimes give codes to gift cards to the children. A lot of times, these text messages, he was just lying to the children. He had a separate thing he was typing in saying, $10 was donated to your stream, $10 was donated to your stream, thank you. And the children weren't getting any money. They may have thought they were going to get money, but they really weren't getting any money. So again, we went over this again before, but what you can do is don't have your child, respond to harassing messages, save the evidence, block the account, create new accounts. Obviously, if you believe your child's in immediate danger, call law enforcement right away, call 911, and definitely report it. Some of the resources that I wanted to make sure you have, and there's some literature out in the hallway, if you want to take a screenshot of this, there's a lot of good internet safety things on the National Center for Miseducation website. ConnectSafely.org has a lot of parent guides with some short 3-minute videos for like TikTok, Discord, Snapchat. There's a whole bunch of them. There's also some videos on what to do about financial extortion or sexual extortion. And there's also a website called Take It Down at necmec.org. And this is relatively new, but its intention is, we used to say if it's on the internet, you can never get rid of it, it's never going down. But this site is National Center is partnering with all these, with Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, and they're trying to help victims get their images removed from the internet. Now, this is for minor victims, you have to be under 18 years of age, it has to be child exploitation material, but they are trying. We're actually helping a victim here in Delaware County now with this process to try and help her remove her images. If you need to, you can call the National Center for Miseducation tip line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call 1-800-THE-LOST. You can make a report online. If you don't want to talk to somebody live, you can go online and fill out a form and make a report. Anything that's associated with a victim or an offender with Pennsylvania, as the district attorney said, that will come to us at the district attorney's office. We have analysts, I have 2 analysts in my unit that go through all the reports, and then we send the reports to the proper law enforcement authority in Pennsylvania. We often work with other states, other counties, because we may have a victim here or an offender here, they may have the victim in their state. So again, be happy to stay around later if anybody has any questions or about the presentation or about the internet safety or things we can do for your children. I'm happy to stick around, but thank you for your time and please be safe.